Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, your next-gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, impressions, analyses, and roundtable discussions involving past, present, and future video games. My name is Tony Morris, and today I'm joined by you-know-who, my beloved co-host, Wayne, Alex.
How's it going?
Woo, we're here. So a lot been happening here the last 1-2 weeks. We're coming out of that weird little drought period between December and May we get every year for video games. Hasn't been a terrible drought, but nonetheless a drought. It's not the hot season, right? It's not fall, it's not summer. But obviously good things on the horizon. Resident Evil Village coming next week. Be sure to tune in for that podcast. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming very shortly after that. But a lot of things happening lately. And I guess, while we cover a lot of different topics throughout today's discussion, we'll start it off hot here. I don't know if you guys saw this today, but Sony ended up buying out or investing, if you want to call it that, minority stakeholdership in Discord, which is a very popular, I think there's about 140 million users for that app on the PC, which is insane to think that could be coming to PlayStation here soon. It doesn't exist on any console at the moment, but if it did come over to PlayStation, that would be a nice little chunk of change for Sony, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Like this could actually replace like the party system that they have. I could see that happening actually. Like I'm not familiar with Discord because I'm not much of a PC guy, but I heard it's like a big thing on PC, right?
It's an pretty big thing, I guess. Like, yeah, no, I use it for everything. Yeah, it's a lifesaver because sometimes game chat, it's either unreliable or it cuts out in certain places during loading screens, and this just keeps the party going the whole time with Discord, no matter what game you're playing. So it's easy to switch around and make things convenient for you. So I dig it. I think it's a great move, and hopefully something transpires of it. Obviously, we don't know much of it right now, but I would imagine year and a half down the road, we see Discord on PlayStation.
The thing I really like about Discord is, I mean, on Xbox, you can already link your Xbox profile to Discord, so you can see what other people are playing, even if they're on a different platform. And I would love to see that. I know that this is with PlayStation at the minute that they're working with, but I'd just love to see that right across all the console platforms and PC gaming as well, so that you've got like one unified chat party system that, doesn't matter what you're playing on, you can see what all your mates are doing. I think that'll be absolutely brilliant, especially if cross-play becomes a bigger thing as well. Could be great. Be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I see actually also some downsides to this too. I just see this every time when I'm on Xbox Live. Like go in my friends list and see all my friends are like playing on PC. And someone asks, "Hey, you want to play Halo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." All right. Do you actually play on PC? No, I don't. I'm a little bit torn on this. To be fair, I see your points definitely, but it could make everything more difficult in my opinion. Like you're on your Xbox and see someone, he's playing God of War. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm stoked about it. I guess we'll see what it looks like, but I'm pretty stoked to see, some cross between Sony and PC, because we only recently got, I think Sony's really technically Nintendo is going to be last of the party if it ever does happen, but obviously Microsoft was the first one to kind of jump ship and say, hey, we'll do console and some PC stuff. Whereas now Sony is kind of throwing their hat in the ring and saying, hey, there's a future here. We just had some games come out on Steam recently with, Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone. Why do those games rhyme? I don't know. Maybe that's a thing. I should have said this at the beginning of the podcast, so my apologies. But we do have some new freebies coming up here in the fine month of May, right? So far for May of 2021 on the PlayStation, if you got PlayStation Plus, you're getting Battlefield 5, Stranded Deep, which is a survival horror game, and then Wreckfest, which is kind of like a crash car demolition derby, game. I don't know how else to describe it other than that, but and then on Game Pass, you got some new additions coming, like Dragon Quest Builders 2, FIFA 21 is coming through EA Play. Other things like Outlast 2, Final Fantasy X and X2 HD Remaster. I know some might call that 10 and 12, same thing. Psychonauts, Just Cause 4. But yeah, it's a good month for gaming, right? We're still, staying a little bit hot.
The big one there for me is the original Psychonauts. Microsoft are developing Psychonauts 2. It's going to be one of their big exclusives. So obviously that's exciting for the Xbox fan base. But there's probably a lot of people out there that didn't play the original Psychonauts, because I think it was a bit of it didn't have the success that they kind of hoped it would. But the people that did play it have said it's a brilliant game. and the comedy aspect, the writing is meant to be like top notch, really really good. It's Tim Schafer, Double Fine, so it should be a good game. So that to me is perfect. Psychonauts, get that played before the sequel comes out. I was happy about that one.
Oh, yes, indeed. What else is going on out there in the fine world of gaming, gentlemen? I know there's a lot of things, obviously, with big games just around the corner on the horizon. But what's been happening here in the past week?
I mean, we had the state of play for Ratchet and Clank, right? Like,
we sure
really did the first deep look into the game, and fuck me, that got me excited. Actually,
have you played the other Ratchet and Clank games, or
the PS4 one?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I had never played a Ratchet and Clank game.
What the hell's wrong with you two?
I can't remember what I finished. I finished something. I was just like, I need like a palette cleanser. I need something fun and bright and colorful. So I thought Ratchet and Clank, the PS4 one that's got the PS5 upgrade, it's a 2016 remake. It's part of the PS Now collection, I think it's called.
PlayStation Plus collection,
Yeah. And so didn't cost anything. And I thought, why not? I'll give it a bash. And I think I played close to 10 hours on my first sitting of it. Like, just sat
nice.
all day straight to the point where I was like, am I near the end of this? I don't want to finish this game in one go. So I turned it off just to make sure I had a bit more of it to play at another stage. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Like, it's as good as... No, it's not. I was going to say it's as good as Mario. It isn't.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say Lego Star Wars, because I know this is right up your alley on smashing shit and collecting little things that pop out.
The way you collect, so you collect nuts and bolts. That's kind of your currency within the game. Is really similar to the way you collect studs in Lego. So there was that little buzz from it.
The really dopamine receptors in Wayne's brain were just
exactly the words I was looking for.
Exploding.
And it just keeps firing weapons at you and gives you loads of fun weapons. The humor in it is good. It looks fantastic. I mean, it's a 5-year-old game, but it still looks absolutely fantastic, especially with the 60 frames per second. And then this footage they've shown of the next one. Me being me, I didn't want to watch all of it because I want there to be surprises whenever I come to playing it. But it was just like, this looks better than the first 4 or 5 Pixar movies. What our consoles are capable now of doing in real time is mind blowing. These games are getting so good looking, and that Ratchet and Clank is one of the best examples I've seen. Even though it's cartoony, the fur on the characters is starting to look like fur. The laser blasts just look brilliant. Oh, I can't wait for that.
I have a hard time discerning between Ratchet and Clank and the squirrels outside of my house. It's tough.
I mean, didn't they put out a movie out in 2016 when the game came out too?
They did, and there's little in jokes in that game because there's 2 characters talking about what happened, and one of them goes, didn't Ratchet get lost in space and do this and that? And they go, yeah, well, the movie says he did, but he didn't really. This is what happened. it's funny the way they bounce off each other like that. Yeah, so totally psyched for the new Ratchet and Clank.
Same. Yeah, June 11th of 2021, we'll get some more Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart action. Can't wait. That's always been a great franchise anyway, and so glad to see it.
That's going to be some expensive 2 to 3 months right now. Just think of it. We got Resident Evil 8 coming up later this week. We got Mass Effect coming up, Ratchet and Clank, Final Fantasy 7 Integrate. Man.
Oh yeah, Intergrade comes out. God, I forgot. Yeah, geez.
Yeah,
it seems
next
like
month now.
COVID has put us in a time capsule, and we're just kind of like coming out of it and seeing games all over the place. Like,
remind me what Intergrade is.
It's a PS5 upgrade for Final Fantasy VII Remake with an additional chapter. And I mean, thank God I got the PS4 version on disc, so I'm gonna get it for free.
Same. Yeah, can't wait. That's a win all the way around. God. What else has been going on out there in the wild world of gaming?
Some good news for Hazelight Studios. We've talked about It Takes Two a bunch of times in this podcast, but they've announced that it sold 1 million copies, and I'm just over the moon about that. I love to see games kind of coming up that people don't necessarily think are the big popular games, just doing really, really well. I think 1 million copies is excellent, and chances are if 1 million copies of that game were sold, then 2 million people played it because it's a forced co-op game. So happy days, good sales. It means we'll see a sequel or even better, just something new again from Hazelight Studios, because they're just absolutely nailing the whole co-op experience. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do next. Great studio.
Yeah, I would play this game if I would have any friends.
I'll play it with you. I'll play it with
you. Yeah, I love this game. Playing it again with my girlfriend, who is a non-gamer by all stretches of the imagination. She absolutely loves this game too. So it's a win-win all the way around for the casuals, the hardcores, and everybody in between. So props to Hazelight Studios for putting out It Takes Two. It's a great game. If you haven't already, go check it out. It is completely worth your time. I wanted to throw this curveball at you too, because I saw a couple of videos recently of Phil Spencer speaking to the masses and blessing us with his, voice and knowledge and everything in between. But, during that speech, it's come to attention a couple of times now that there has been a Nintendo Switch sitting on his shelf. And as you know, in the past, that's meant different things with different companies. Sometimes it's nothing at all, and it's just, rabid fan theories left and right. But this has come up a couple of times now with Mr. Phil Spencer's background, where there's a Nintendo Switch just kind of promiscuously hanging out there on the shelf. Reckon there's a partnership there in the future? And if so, what does that look like?
I mean, Microsoft and Nintendo kind of have already some sort of partnership going, right? Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps were released on the Nintendo Switch. So I could see some smaller games being released on Nintendo consoles. But some people are going completely bananas and say, oh yeah, we're going to be able to play Halo Infinite via Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch. But
that's
I don't know.
Deep.
That would be cool, but I don't think it will happen.
I'm throwing my hat in the ring right now and praying for Master Chief and Smash Ultimate. That's it. That's all I have to say about that.
I was thinking about this, and whenever Microsoft tried to put Game Pass or xCloud or whatever you want to call it onto iPhones, Apple came back and said, if you put that onto our store, we want a cut of the money. And Microsoft weren't happy with that, right? So that's why we ended up getting the xCloud via a browser.
It's ugly as fuck, by the way. Yeah.
Now, if Microsoft wanted to put xCloud Game Pass onto Nintendo Switch, surely Nintendo were going to want a slice of that. And Microsoft have already said they don't want to give a bit of a slice. If they don't want to give it to Apple, they're not going to want to give it to Nintendo. So for that reason, I think I can't see this happening. I don't think we're going to get Game Pass on Nintendo Switch.
Well, the situation with Apple is actually a little bit different. Yeah, of course, there's like a 30% cut thing, but that's not the main thing. The thing why Game Pass isn't on iOS devices so far and will probably never be in the App Store is every game that is available on Game Pass needs to be reviewed by Apple. That's like every game that is available on there. And Apple says, or Microsoft said, well, we don't have any control over these games. We have them in Game Pass, but those are not Microsoft games. That's why it fell through.
Yeah, I know they said that. I just don't believe them.
I mean, there's so much bloatware games out there. Like, there's no way that could be that big of a problem. I'd hope. God, I don't know. I'm torn too, because like, I mean, let's say, okay, just hypotheticals here. Let's say Nintendo Switch gets Game Pass, which is great. A lot of good games on there. A lot of it's multiplayer. A lot of it's single player, right? Does the Nintendo Switch in any way, shape, or form have the capacity to handle like a full-blown Microsoft multiplayer game the way they're I mean, if we're being honest, is the Nintendo Switch's multiplayer system not bare bones as it is? With
there is a multiplayer system.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, friends codes and all kinds of other stuff. But I mean, it's not like as fleshed out as other things. Sure, you got games that utilize it a lot, like Smash Ultimate or Splatoon, I think is another big one.
If it were to happen, I imagine everything Xbox would be tied into it. So you would turn on your PlayStation, you would open up an Xbox app or whatever, an xCloud app, and within that you would have all of your friends, your Xbox friends, your party system, and all that. It would be handled within that. I don't think it would rely on Nintendo's user interface, because, as you say, it's bare bones. It's not good enough. It's not up to the task.
Yeah. Right. And that's not trashing Nintendo. I don't see that capacity existing anytime in the near future.
And in that regards, I don't mind trashing Nintendo. I've always said I've never understood. I've never understood how a company can be so good at making games like Zelda and Mario Kart, and then suck so badly at creating user interfaces or friend systems and stuff like that.
It always seems like they're 15 years behind everyone else, right?
Literally.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean, roast us if you must, but I'm right there with you guys on their ability to handle multiplayer. I mean, Jesus Christ, when we were getting what was it, me codes, I think it was, and things like that. We already had gamer tags that were fully fleshed out, and party systems and stuff that was way more functional in the future.
Like, come on, Nintendo, it's so simple. Just take a look at Microsoft. Just take a look at Sony. And do the same fucking thing. Come on, it's not that hard.
No, I just want to be XX11 Noob Killer 11XX. What's wrong with that?
Give the people what they want, Nintendo. That's all we're asking here. But yeah, interesting thoughts there. I guess we'll see what that looks like in the future. Obviously, that's all speculation, but who knows? Maybe we're having this conversation a year from now, and Microsoft is all over the goddamn Nintendo store. We'll see.
Yeah.
What else, gentlemen?
Has anyone followed the Destiny 2 Transmog story?
Not a clue.
I'm so far out of Destiny.
Next.
My Destiny days are done. Like, I put thousands of hours into the first game. I need to stay away from it. It will ruin my life again. I know it.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I'll be brief then, because clearly you just don't give a damn about this. They've basically implemented a system where you can use one piece of armor, but the stats from another one, which is transmog. It seems to be a big thing in a lot of RPGs and live service games at the minute. But there's something like 4 different currencies. You have to grind for a certain currency and take it somewhere and change it into another currency, and then take that somewhere else and then change that into another currency. It's completely madness, and gamers are actually saying it's coming across like someone satirizing, Destiny, but it's not. It's an actual thing in the game, and it's nuts.
Like,
we'll move on.
To be honest, I think the Destiny ship has sailed somewhat. Sure, this game has their fan, that there is like a huge fan base, and they still keep playing this game. And sure, do this. It's a good game. Like, I loved it too, but they just made so many weird and poor decisions over the lifetime of the game. I mean, that's why they scrapped Destiny 3 that was supposed to come out last year, I think. So they're just gonna keep on updating Destiny 2, and that's it. And I hope Bungie can return to its former glory at some point with a new IP that's actually like a single player game with like a good multiplayer portion. But come on, Destiny's over, at least for me.
Yeah, for me personally as well, I can't play the game anymore. And I don't know if you've ever dipped into it after being away for a while. It is not welcoming to people who haven't kept up whatsoever.
I tried it once, was so overwhelmed, shut down the game, deinstalled it immediately.
The Crucible will overwhelm you indeed. Alex, what else is going on out there?
What else going on? Do you guys remember the big Resident Evil reveal that was going on, where they announced a demo and with the 30-minute time limit, and where you need to have like a big spreadsheet to know when you can play the demo actually. And they announced something new with Resident Evil 4 related. And I know Wayne was mad excited when you mentioned, there's something about like Resident Evil 4. And it's just like, oh my God, it's Resident Evil 4 VR. It's like the laziest thing ever, actually.
It looks like trash. It just looks so bad. It literally looks like someone has taken Resident Evil 4 and then lifted the code from a VR game and just dumped it in. And there's no upgraded visuals, fidelity. It just looks like the original game on GameCube running in VR with 2 weird floaty hands.
It looks like a Wii port, doesn't it? A Wii game?
Yeah, right.
It probably is. They've probably used the Wii port because the motion controls are already in there. But
That's so strange to me because, like, if you think of the Resident Evil 7 VR on the PlayStation, that was top notch. Like, there wasn't a tremendous. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there was a difference, but there wasn't a huge difference graphically, between the normal version and the VR version of Resident Evil 7. This, on the other hand, a game that's even older, for some reason, just looks like it got downgraded even from what it was 15 years ago, which is hard to believe.
And then,
absolutely,
to make it even worse, it's a Quest 2 exclusive, and I know I've talked about VR a lot, but I ain't buying more than one headset. It's not happening. We're short for space as it is, with all these consoles and stuff and PCs and laptops and what have you. I'm not having a bunch of headsets sitting around the apartment. It's just one. So VR, and I think a lot of people would be in the same situation. So VR exclusives, I don't.
Well, it can work. We've seen that with PlayStation VR games, which is basically the headset that's been. It's sold pretty well. So this to me at least would make some sense, but just like have this on a completely separate ecosystem, the VR Quest or what it is called. I'm not, just like you, I'm not going to go out and buy a new VR headset just to play Resident Evil 4 VR. Put in a PlayStation VR. That's a different thing. I might check it out there. Like put it into the PlayStation store for 20-25 bucks. And then I'd be game for it actually.
Yeah.
Not for new hardware. That's not a game that sells hardware, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. I mean, if someone says to me, "You have to," I mean, I want one of the PC VR systems because I really want to play Half-Life Alyx, and I can't quite justify it. If someone says to me, "Oh, you really need to buy a Quest 2," why? To play Resident Evil 4 again, but in VR, it's just like I really don't feel like I'm getting any FOMO from that whatsoever.
Yeah.
Pass.
Talk.
Pass.
Look, talking about things that could be potentially bad. We talked about in the Star Wars episode about like a Knights of Republic remake that it's reportedly in the works. Well, now it's basically confirmed, but who's making it? It's Aspyr, or Aspyr. I think it's pronounced Aspyr. And for those of you who don't know, Aspyr is basically a developer. They take pre-existing games and just port them over. They do this for a lot of things on the Mac, games on the Mac. Basically every game that you can get on the Mac App Store is probably from Aspyr. I know they made some console ports too. What was it called again? Republic Commando. I think that's what they did, right? And it's just a port. So are we in just for a port of this game now?
I think we're past. Really? Because I think I'm past the stage of ports, to be honest. Like, if I wanted to play the old version, I'd put on the old version. And I think there's two ways you can handle the ports. One, there's Aspyr, which they also did Stubbs the Zombie, by the way, here in the last month or so. Which,
right.
As you know, yep, absolutely. And as you know, I was looking forward to that for like a decade and got it in my hands. And the expectation was there that it would indeed be a port, but I played it and sure as fuck, it was actually just a port. There was no upgrades. There were some achievements, don't get me wrong, which is nice, but I was disappointed. I don't know why. I heard they were going to just do a straight port and it came out as a straight port and I was still disappointed that it was a straight port. You know what I mean? Because I already had the goddamn original game. Like if I just wanted that original experience again, I'd pop it in. But, I guess, again, back to that point, there's two ways of making a port. You can do it the Aspyr way, which is, again, just straight up the same thing you played ages ago. Or you can do it ways like Toys for Bob, where it's kind of a remaster port. They give it a really nice, fresh coat of paint, but that core gameplay is still there. So, man, I don't know. I think I'm over the time of ports, if that makes sense.
So, sorry, I was agreeing with you, but there seems to be a lot of people that, for whatever reason, they're getting their hopes up that this is going to be a remake/remaster. That we're gonna get a modern Knights of the Old Republic with modern graphics, and it's going to look super shiny, something along the lines of the current Mass Effect remaster. And we're just not. I mean, we're just not. Look at Aspyr's track record. They don't do that. They just, as you say, they just port games across. I would be amazed if we got anything other than the straight port.
By the way, I just looked up on the Mac App Store, and there's actually a port for Knights of the Republic, and you have 3 guesses who made this port.
Yeah, Aspyr.
Aspyr,
That's what I'm saying. They have literally done this before, you know, so why would we expect anything better? Don't get me wrong. Maybe, you know, it'll be better resolution. We might get slightly bumped up textures, but it'll be
I will say, yeah, in that line, there was controller support for Subs to Zombie on PC, which was not a thing before. So I got to give some props where it's due. But again, these are such bare bone changes or upgrades that it's hardly noticeable, and it should be expected in the 21st century, if nothing else.
But here's a thing about this. What if they happen to add achievements or trophies, Wayne?
Well, yeah, you're 100% there. I know I'm knocking this. I'm not really knocking what Asper do. I'm sure they're good at what they do. I'm sure it does take a certain amount of talent to take a game that's designed for one platform and move it on to another and have it working and fully functional. I never actually played any of the KOTOR games because I don't know why. I just never got around to it. And I keep meaning to pick it up because the original Xbox One version is backwards compatible on the Xbox One, Series S, Series X, and it's meant to run really, really well, albeit it still looks like an old game. So I have been planning to pick that up at some stage. You can get it for about £4 every now and again, whenever it's on sale. If they did release the same thing with the achievements, I would probably rather play that than play the original Xbox version with the Xbox One patch.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be necessarily excited for it. Whereas I think people are getting excited because their expectations are too high, because they think we're getting a super duper modern remaster.
Yeah. So here's what I think will actually happen. Yeah, this will be a port, but I hope at least they just upscale it to 4K. So even though it's like old graphics, it's at least crisp and sharp old graphics. And if they add some achievement support, trophy support, sure, like this could work if it's not too expensive.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, a good story is a good story, no matter what it looks
exactly.
like. You know, so
this is one of the best ones in the games, like we touched on in the Star Wars episode. Talking about stories, good stories.
I guess actually to pivot a little bit here while we're talking about kind of odd updates and things that may or may not make sense, but I saw Nintendo gave Mario Party 10, whichever it is, on the Switch an upgrade for online compatibility.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Okay.
But, I mean, what the hell? This game's been out for like 1, 2, 3 years now or something like that. Does it even make sense to give this game an online mode at this point in time? And even then, by the way, there's a caveat with this, because this online mode, you can only play it with friends, not randos. So unless you've got 4 active friends that are willing to play the fucking Mario Party, not even the best Mario Party, just a Mario Party on the Switch, this is an option for you now, which I guess is a good thing, looking back. But I mean, was that really worth the time or effort 2-3 years later?
If you're going to ask the question, is anyone going to go out and buy that because of this added feature? I'll put my hand up and say me.
What?
Yeah, genuinely. I never bought Mario Party because honestly, I don't have friends around the house very often, and it would just be me and Claire playing it, the two of us, and that's not much of a Mario Party with 2 people. So, I've got friends that are big into their Nintendo games, and they had said about picking it up. So I am probably going to pick this up so that we can have some online Mario Party fun.
You are going to put down the full €65 dollars based on this. Wow.
Definitely.
Consider me impressed. All right. Wow. So there is a market for that.
Yeah. The market is called Wayne Donaldson.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think they missed out. They needed to have done this a year ago.
Yeah.
Because this was a pandemic solution.
We're at the end of the pandemic almost, and they're like, here's your online play. Like
that's exactly the point. I think they're about a year too late pulling this off. They should have done it at least a year ago.
They needed to sell Animal Crossing. That's why they didn't put it out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Interesting nonetheless, though. I did think that was rather an odd choice of Nintendo to go back and it's always good to see more features for a consumer. I think that's a great thing, but man, the timing, it couldn't be more odd in my opinion. What else is going on, gentlemen?
There's a couple of Assassin's Creed stories come out. My favorite game.
We all know this.
The wonderful Valhalla. they've decided to put an option. They've patched an option into Assassin's Creed Valhalla so that you can turn off the finisher moves, which is
Thank God.
essentially biff, baff, bosh. You fight an enemy, and then it locks into this little 5-second animation where
You're cutting heads off or dismembering arms, doing all kinds of cool
that sort of thing.
moves.
Exactly. Obviously, after 120 hours of this game, people are getting a bit sick looking at the same things. Now, I personally didn't. I thought it was actually one of the highlights of the game. Was one thing I did enjoy about it. But people are obviously getting sick of this, so they've decided to put a patch in so you can turn it off. But that just seems so. I don't know. It kind of feels like you're pandering to the people that are getting bored of your game. You know, I'm bored looking at this thing. Can you patch it out for me?
Maybe just make the game shorter
yeah,
so that people don't get bored.
Yeah, create the game so that you're not getting bored of aspects of it to the point that you have to patch them out.
Yeah,
there's another solution here. I can't believe nobody has said this yet, because what you two just said, from shorten the game to, you know, like, hey, why the hell is this a feature to those that are bored anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I get bored shitless of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That hit me because I still haven't played Valhalla yet, but those kill animations, man, after doing it for the 500th time and knowing it's coming and thinking, okay, just hurry up and kill this guy, please, so I can move on. I cannot believe nobody has said this yet, but as opposed to maybe adding the option to remove these cutscenes or, you know, shortening the game, why not just add more goddamn kill animations for less repetitive options? I mean, so is that not an option here at all, where we could just add more content? If we're going to add content, add it somewhere where, you know, it'd make a difference, as opposed to just saying, well, all right, we acknowledge that this is really repetitive, so we'll give you the option to turn it off.
Look, here's the situation again with the boardroom, and then you have like 10 suits around it, and they're like, okay, should we add more killing animations? No, just cut the killing animations completely.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe I don't hear more people suggesting that as an option. I get it; it's time, it's resources, but my God, I mean, there's better ways to address these guys.
I just wonder, when people turn this option off, are they sitting there going and they killing an enemy and they go, there we go, 4 seconds of time saved. You know, I'm going to be much more efficient today. I'm going to get a lot more done. You know, because I saved those 4 seconds on that kill.
I killed 2 more enemies because of that.
I mean, it's not like they're, you know, letting you not watch a 10-minute cutscene or something. It's literally 4 or 5 seconds of someone getting their head cut off. I don't know. Maybe a lot of gamers are just like way less patient than me.
Or maybe they should spend more time on actually like putting out good patches that don't break the game anymore. That just actually broken, right?
A good Assassin's Creed game.
Wayne's over here gritting his teeth.
I don't even like talking about Assassin's Creed anymore. It just frustrates me.
I can see like a vein. I can see like a vein popping on your head. Assassin's Creed.
There was also the Call of Duty Warzone, and man, I wish we'd covered this, and we just didn't have time with some of the other things going on. But the Call of Duty Warzone event that happened and basically nuked the map and brought us a new world. And I'm not even sure what to make of this, because this was such a huge event in Call of Duty. So many people are trying to get on at one time. I logged in at like, you know, the latter portion of this, and there was like I think 45-minute server queue just to get in and play Call of Duty, which never happens. And if that tells you anything, there's already 100 million people that play Warzone, which is known. And to think like a good chunk of that population was trying to get on at the same time to witness whatever was about to happen here. They dropped the ball so hard on here. And this is only my opinion, but essentially what was going to happen is this rollout was supposed to happen in stages. You've got this one giant map of Battle Royale that everybody's been fighting on for the past year. And they were basically hyping up a new map. So to bring in and introduce this new map, instead of just saying, here's the new map, they put us all on the old map and said, all right, zombies have invaded this map. They integrated that really well. And if you logged in for a certain 3-hour window, you could fight zombies all over the map. People could become zombies, and you got to get helicoptered out of there only for 3 hours. And if you missed that event, that was it. The next stage of the event was being on another island, watching that other place blow up. Some other stuff happened, yada, yada. Long story short, the place gets nuked. But it happened in a cutscene. And I think every single person from every streamer I watched was expecting it to be this Fortnite style event where, you know, something just cataclysmic happens in the game. And that didn't happen with this. It just gave you a little 10-second cutscene at the end of all this after days and hours. And everybody was just kind of like, what the fuck? I was confused, and I was there for this whole thing. Like, me and my friends were online the entire time trying to, wade through this stuff, even at like 1:00 in the morning, just to see what this would be like. And it was the most disappointing thing I've ever endured in my life as a gamer. And they basically, instead of giving us a new map, they gave us the same map, but they rewinded time 20 years. So it's like the same map, but it's from 1980 something as opposed to current day. Again, maybe a non-story there, but I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in my life from something that had so much potential.
That's the most disappointment that you are as of now.
There is more to come.
More disappointments in the future.
I'll tell you what's not disappointing though, and that is the FPS boost that is coming to Xbox for so many games. Yes, that's a beautiful thing.
Added over 70 games, so they're at a total of 97 games by now. And it's just like, usually it was like, okay, here are like 4 or 5 games, we added them, and everyone's like, hey, that's good, let's give us more games. And then all of a sudden, I think I saw this on Twitter earlier today and was like, this is like 100 games. Are they fucking serious? And some good games too, like the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, or Rise of the Tomb Raider, Alien Isolation. I'm actually like buzzing getting back into this game in 60 FPS.
And Anthem,
fuck yeah, that's
don't
so
forget
good.
about Anthem. They give Anthem a 60 frames per second patch. This could be it. This could be the rise
this game's
of
about
Anthem.
to die. You're saying it might save it?
Everyone's going to play Anthem now. Maybe.
So these 60, 120 FPS boosts, do you guys think that's enough to maybe not resurrect the game entirely, but to go back and play it? Because I see this sometimes, and as someone that has a console and a PC, it's hardly ever enough for me to go back. And unless I really, really, really enjoyed that game, I don't go back to it for that FPS boost. I think I've done it for God of War on the PlayStation. There might have been 1 or 2 other ones I can think of, but outside of that, I don't come back to these a whole lot after that FPS boost.
There's actually some hard data supporting that this actually can bring back games from the dead. Remember when, what was it called? Red Dead Redemption, the first Red Dead Redemption, when they got like a 4K upgrade on the Xbox One X back in the day. The next month, Take-Two or Rockstar said, sales started to climb 960% from one month through to another for Red Dead Redemption 1. So I definitely can see that, especially people who might have missed out on games, haven't played them because they were on a different platform or were into video games or didn't have the money. And then they're like, oh, there's a new upgrade. Oh yeah, I forgot I wanted to play this game back then. Bam, purchase it.
There we go.
The way it's working for me, and I'm over the moon about this, is I've got my backlog, and it's an actual list on my phone of here's the games that I haven't played yet, and I definitely want to play at some stage. But having moved to the new consoles and getting really used to 60 frames per second, there's some games on there that I'm kind of thinking that means going back to 30 frames per second. Maybe we'll just retire them off the list. And I actually did do that with Alien Isolation. This is a perfect example. I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to go back and play that. Now I'm seeing that it's got the FPS boost, and I'm thinking there's no reason not to now. I mean, it's
back on the table again.
That is going to look like a brand new game right now, because that game looked fantastic when it first came out.
Still does.
So if it looked good then, and it's going to have the 50 frames per second, I think. 60 frames per second. I think it'll be great, and I'm definitely going to play it. The other one, Lego. It's all the Lego games basically, but Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 is one of the ones that I still haven't played yet, and it's got the 60 FPS boost, and I'm just over the moon about it. That going back to these games, they're going to run and look way better. You're probably right, Tony. I'm probably not going to go back and replay a game in its entirety just because it's got better frame rate, but it's definitely going to encourage me to go and play the games that I missed.
That's an interesting take. That's a good thing to hear. I didn't think about that, where I was looking backwards and you guys are looking forward. So you're right. I guess it hasn't enticed me enough to look forward on a game yet and say like, hey, this has been out a while. It's been on my radar, but now it's got this boost. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Can't say that's applied to anything that I've been interested in yet, because it seems like I've unfortunately played everything on the horizon.
Well, don't worry, it's a long list now, so you find something.
We'll find something. I think Metro Exodus is one of them. Yeah.
whenever I
Yeah.
seen that list, I was sitting thinking, I hope Capcom get on this, because I've been trying to play through. I want to finish every Resident Evil game on one platform, that being Xbox. So I'm hoping that Capcom jump on board, and those old Resident Evil games, I'll get that FPS boost as well.
I mean, they are running on 60 FPS already.
Resi 5, there's no way Resi 5 is 60.
Resi 5 runs on 60, yeah.
Oh, cool. Fair enough then.
All right.
Interesting. Interesting.
By the way,
indeed.
since we're just talking about the list, I was actually, when I opened up the list and looked at it, it was like, yeah, that's too long. No way that this is like the FPS boost list. I must be wrong here. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's like what,
It's so
74
long.
other games, I think.
Yeah.
70 something.
There's one thing worth noting about this, and I don't think Xbox have been crystal clear about this. There's all those games that are listed. Now, some of them do not have FPS boost on by default. You have to go in and specifically turn it on. If you're on an Xbox Series X and you leave that off, then you're getting 30 frames per second, but you're playing the Xbox One X version of the game. If you then turn on FPS boost, you're then playing the Xbox One base version of the game with 60 or 120 frames per second.
God, that is so confusing.
The earlier version. Yeah, it is a little bit. It's really, really unclear. And it took me a wee bit of reading to get a proper understanding of it. That's why they don't put it on by default for those games, that it's an option. One of the games that I tried that for was Fallout 76. And when
How do you do it, by the way? Is it from the in-game menu or from like the console?
It's actually from the console user interface. So you go into where the game, basically where you would uninstall it and stuff, and you can go in there. So I done it with Fallout 76, and yes, the frame rate looks way better, but then the resolution dropped right down, the textures dropped, and it just looked a little bit soft. So you're kind of, it's kind of like that. You know, a lot of modern games have that. Do you want performance mode, or do you want, pretty graphics? Having to choose. So it's worth noting. It's worth noting.
Yeah.
Love it.
What I can actually recommend about this, Digital Foundry made a video about FPS boost and what it actually does, and also for what games, at least when the video was new, where you trade off like resolution for frames. So I would highly suggest checking out Digital Foundry. I think they do a great job anyway. But yeah, this video explains a lot about this. Beautiful things,
gentlemen. What else is going? Anything else out there in the wild, wild west before we wrap it up regarding the latest news and updates in gaming?
Mortal Kombat, the new movie.
The new movie on HBO Max, ladies and gentlemen, HBO Max.
Yes. On HBO Max. That's right.
Has anybody seen that?
It's not available in Ireland, but hey.
How did you watch it, Alex, if it wasn't released over here?
Yeah.
So the movie. So about the movie. So like the original Mortal Kombat movie, I think we touched on this in the video game movie episode pretty briefly. But the new Mortal Kombat movie feels to me like there are fans of the franchise, fans of the games who made that movie. It's actually really decent. It's dumb, it's stupid, but it catches the vibe and catches the spirit of the game pretty well, in my opinion.
Honestly, we'll take that, right? Because as gamers, we've been treated to horrible movies for so long with game adaptations. Like if it's like not, stellar, I'm okay with that as long as it's decent. We accept that, right? That's okay. But this does look pretty good overall. It's on my watch list for this week on HBO Max because we do have that here in the States. Lucky us, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks really good.
Yeah, definitely. Like really watch it. And I think the way certain characters are made, like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, these are basically some of the best iterations of the characters, and the fights are actually pretty good. But don't watch the trailers because they give away too much.
Ooh, noted.
I never do.
I never.
Speaking of trailers and demos, did either of you play the Resident Evil Village demos when they were available in the past few days? I haven't touched it, but
no.
Let me check my spreadsheet if it's available.
yeah, you got to really keep track of that. Yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty much on the same page here that, regarding demos, none of us touch that, just, for spoilers and stuff like that.
Yeah, to me, the essence of a demo is, if you're on the fence about this game, why not give it a go and then make your mind up? I've already made my mind up about Resident Evil Village, so I don't have to play the demo. And then I can just go into it completely blind. and see everything for the first time, rather than having that horizontal slice of a game. I just don't see the point. Not if you're planning to play it.
That is absolutely true. Well, everybody, well, thank you very much for tuning in. Again, if you enjoyed this conversation and you don't already, be sure to go find us over there at Game Savers Channel, over there on Facebook. Again, that's facebook.com/Game Savers Channel. Again, as always, Alex, we now have an Instagram up there. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. A Game Savers Podcast. That's how you find us on Instagram. We're going to put out some daily stuff, some new games they're releasing each week, short little videos about the podcast, and some additional content that's not here on the podcast and not on Facebook. So give us a follow and engage some conversation in the comment sections there.
Yep, absolutely. And again, don't forget, that's Game Savers Channel, all one word, over there on the gram.
Game Savers Podcast.
Game Savers Podcast. I'm sorry, I almost got it. And other than that, everybody, again, if you joined this conversation, be sure to tune in next week. Things pick up from here. We've got Resident Evil Village. We'll be sure to have that conversation regarding our impressions next week, because we'll have, I'm sure the game's only going to be out for a few days by the time the podcast rolls around, but we're going to have at least 50 hours poured into this game between all of us. And then obviously the week after that is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and things are only going to get better from there. So be sure to tune in. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for staying with us. And again, as always, don't forget to save your game.